Okay, so in this video I'm just showing the beginning prep for a remote start install in a 2000 Honda Accord. This is using a Avital 4103 and a directed electronics XK05 bypass module. Some of the things I did right away is I went ahead, this particular car has only one 12-volt source at the key switch, so I tied in the two red constants together. And I cut off a couple of the wires I wasn't going to use. And then I kind of started plugging everything in, just planning on how I'm going to be routing everything. From the bypass, I connected right away the red wire to the red wire here, which is also going to go to constant. And then the ground and running wire to this blue-white wire, which is going to be giving it a ground to trigger on during remote start. And then I'll go over a couple of the other connections and things like that. Okay, so right now I'm inside the car getting ready to take apart the bottom shroud here. Looks like some of the connections I'm going to be needing, they're going to be right up under this area there, so I'm going to remove this guy here. Looks like there's a screw there, a clip there. Looks like the rest is going to be clips as well, so it should be pretty easy, except for here, obviously I see some Phillips screws, so we'll get that off. I'll get all this off and we can get started. Okay, now you can see I got it all apart. Came apart pretty easy. The screw holes are all visible for the shroud right here. Then these ones, there was one other screw that I didn't see at first, which goes right there on that guy on the side. So just be careful for that before you start yanking at it. And luckily it looks like nobody else has gotten to this thing before, so I'm pretty happy about that. I always hate getting into here and having to fix somebody else's mess, so that's always good. And down here it looks like we got a cute little factory Honda amplifier, so I'll be unplugging that while I'm working, and obviously, and also it looks like a little footlight maybe as well, so I'm going to be unplugging those things, just getting them out of my way. But yeah, it came apart pretty easy. All you need is a Phillips head screwdriver, stubby one for the sides if you don't have much room to have the door all the way open, and then just a longer Phillips for the bottom shroud. Okay, now I went ahead and split open this black shielded loom here, which has actually all my ignition wires. So I'm going to be getting my constant, looks like my starter wire, as well as ignition wire, accessories, second accessory. So those are all going to be right here. So I'm going to be hooking up all my fat gauge ignition wires right here. So that'll be nice. And then looks like my immobilizer ones and horn and such will probably be in this bunch here. So I'm going to slip that tape there, and so I can go ahead and test my wires. Even though DirectX, my wiring sheet does actually match exactly what the colors I see here, I'm still going to go ahead and test them with a digital multimeter to be sure, because there have been times where it says black yellow is starter, but it actually ends up being black white. I've seen that a lot, so especially with the Hondas and Nissans. Okay, so right now I've got the remote start here ready to, first thing I'm going to do before connecting any of my wires is going to find a mounting spot for it, and I did find a spot. It'll be somewhat difficult to see on camera, but you can see back here, there behind the fuse panel here, there's a lot of room back here, so I'm going to, and there's a nice bundle up there I can zip tie to, so I'm going to be setting it back there and then, route my wires up this way so it'll be nice and out of the way. So yeah, it's pretty much, right now it's not going to be tied or anything, but it's going to be up here, and then I'm going to route my wires right here with the factory stuff. And then obviously some of it's going to go off to different areas, but obviously right now it looks like a mess because nothing's going where it needs to be, but you'll see how it'll end up looking much better. Okay, so here's just a quick example of how I do one of my connections. So I stripped off a good inch or so of this main ignition wire. Then I'm going to go in here, I will split this one open with some side splitting ratcheting strippers. Then I poked a hole in there with a pick tool. Then I made a hole there, and then I just go and put this guy in here, wrap it around a few times there, and then from there is where I go ahead and apply my solder. I can't really film that because it's kind of need two hands for that, and I can't film at the same time, but from there is where I'll go ahead and apply my solder. So yeah, I poke a hole in it, wrap it around, and solder it still. Some people just go ahead and tape it up at this point, which it works fine if you got a nice solid connection, but I prefer to solder. So that's totally up to you, but the preferred industry method would be to solder. Okay, so I finished up my ignition wires here. Finished up tamping, soldering all those, tested them. So the red constant wire for the remote start went to this nice fat white wire on the ignition switch. The starter wire, which is the purple wire, ended up going to the black white. The pink white, which is actually going to be my second accessory wire, I'm going to have to program that. It's going to go to my white black. And then my accessory wire is which is this orange, is going to go to this yellow wire here. And then the ignition wire is going to go to this black white wire here. So now that these are all good, I know they're correct. I soldered them, I tested them beforehand and everything. So those I'm going to go ahead and wrap back up. Usually what I do is do a little bit of tape all the way around them, and then try my best to put this guy back on over them, and then just do some zip ties over top. Okay, so here I went ahead and undid the tape on this bundle here, and went ahead and hooked up my horn wire, which is the brown wire, which is coming off of this fatter plug here. This fatter plug right here. Don't confuse it with this one here, which is actually the brake wire. So yeah, I ran that one. It's going to be running across with all these. I just haven't tied it all up together yet. And then I also went ahead and found my immobilizer wires for my bypass module. So these are the 3 wires that are going to be hooked up here. This red one, this blue one, and this brown black one. I believe that one's actually going to end up cut, if I remember correctly. It might be one of the other ones, but I believe it's that one. Or no, I think it's the red one. Either way, I'll show you which one. And then the way I separated it from the others is right up here. It was all taped up in one bundle, so I cut the tape here. And if you follow this up, it goes to the immobilizer plug, just like in the picture that they show here on the XK05 manual, which you can get off expresskit.com. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and do these connections now, and then I'll continue from there to get my lock wires, my tach wire, and my police parking lights, and then I'm also going to see if it has a factory alarm on this as well, which we'll need to disarm if it does. Okay, so right here I've got the connections ready. The data ones, which is the red wire ended up being that I cut. I got those ready for solder here, so I just twisted them together, and I'm going to be soldering those. And I'm just going to show you here the orange wire from the XK05 went to the blue wire here, and then which is a synchro wire if you read the manual. And then the black one here is going to go to the brown black, which actually is the ground. So you make sure you're grounding the XK05 here at the immobilizer ground, so they have the same ground reference for the bypass module. So yeah, the data wire, very important that you solder these. Those, like I said earlier, you don't always have to. You can just do the poke and wrap method as long as it's a nice and solid connection. But for these data connections, these will all be soldered. So I'm soldering everything, but I'm just saying, in general, everything data immobilizer related, it should be soldered. Okay, and the next wire hooked up was the brake wire, which ended up being right there at that plug. So I unplugged the harness, brought it down here, and stripped the wire. And as you can see, I actually ended up breaking that wire, so I'm going to be soldering that back together along with my brown brake wire there. So yeah, that's your proper brake wire there. Sorry if you can't really see it. It's kind of a cramped area, but it does go right to that plug there. Okay, so now it's kind of starting to come together a little bit. What I went ahead and did, I got the brake wire hooked up back up, and now I found my parking light wire, my positive parking light wire, which ended up being that red-black wire you can see right there in that 10-pin plug. It's kind of pulled out, showing on outside of the others. That's going to be my positive parking light wire, which my white wire here is going to be hooking up to. And then I kind of routed them up above behind the fuse box there. And I also ran my ground wire there, my antenna wire, as well as my programming switch wire. So all those are there because they kind of go in the same area. And then I'm going to go ahead and tie this bundle here together so it's nice and neat. So yeah, like I said, it started off looking like somewhat of a mess, but it always ends up looking clean in the end. As long as you route your wiring properly and route all the wires that are going together to the same area together. Okay, right now I'm in the middle of running the antenna wire. You can see I just kind of left it dangling right there for right now. It's going to ultimately end up sticking right down here. I don't like to leave it up in this windshield strip here. Sometimes it's metallic in there and it'll mess up with the reception, so I like to put it right down here. But if it's not tinted here or it's not, you don't think it's going to be a problem, you can always put it right here, but I always put them down here. And then just pretty much tuck the wire up into the headliner there, and then popped off the A-pillar here, and I'm running the wire behind there and down up into there. So yeah, it's pretty much well in there. Just gotta tuck everything, set that guy, or stick that guy onto the windshield, and I'm good there as far as that goes. Okay, and for the ground, I actually did something that I wouldn't normally do, because my drill is actually dead right now. I'm actually utilizing a factory ground, right here on this metal brace here. There's other factory stuff from Honda grounded there. I will be changing this out. This is temporary, but I mean, honestly, more than likely, it's not going to be an issue at all. But the proper way would be to drill a new one right down here into the kick panel with the paint scraped as well. But this probably will work fine, but like I said, for my own peace of mind, I'm going to be changing that later on. But right now my drill is dead and it looks like my battery's not taking a charge, so that's that. But yeah, that's the ground there, and right now I'm going to be moving on to the locks as well. Okay, and over here you can kind of see my lock wires. They're going to be a black with orange is going to be your lock wire, and your blue with orange is going to be your unlock wire. You're going to hook your lock wire up to the green one from the remote start, and the blue one from the remote start is your unlock. Here they're different colors because I had to extend them. This is a very tight spot, so this is going to probably